Greetings, everybody. My name is Will. I really appreciate your guys' time today. I know everybody's been busy, and I hope that the end of the term has been really successful for everybody. I know that it's been a crazy time for me, but I'm really, really blessed to be where I'm at. I work full time at BMW, so obviously that takes up a lot of my time. But I really, really am so blessed to be here in school, and praise the Lord for all these opportunities that we are, and just being able to meet each one of you, and getting to know another great professor. It's just been a really, really good semester, and another one in the books, but the next one's right around the corner, and I hope everybody's doing well. I just want to take some time to really explain why social media is a danger, kind of some history behind social media, and why it's a great thing, but I really want to more touch on why social media is dangerous. There's a lot that's involved with social media. There's a lot of history behind it. But let's first start with where social media started. So in 1997, Sixpence, made by Andrew Weinrich, was started, and it was the very, very first what we would call social media was born. And if it wasn't for it's kind of like what Facebook is today, obviously with way less features and on a dial-up connection, but you're able to share your thoughts publicly. That was the first website that you could do that. AOL had their own thing with their private chat rooms, and they had their own thing with email being prior to that, even in the late 80s and early 90s when email was coming in. But there was no way to really share your information broadly without having to type in each individual email URL. You could broadly share your information. That was really, really cool. Jumping forward to 2004, MySpace kind of came into play, and that's when people really started to use social media. Everyone was using AOL, and before that, everybody was using what are those called? People had their own websites. That was kind of their way of being social, and people creating your own website and blog pages were kind of the best way to be social. But then MySpace kind of took that crowd, made one website where you could just be social with everybody and have different. And MySpace was kind of defined where social media is today. But the problem with MySpace is it was very public. MySpace, you're able to share information with everybody, and there's not a lot of privacy behind it, and that's the problem with it. When Facebook came in 2006, that's where it triumphed over MySpace, was because you were able to control privacy more, and having more of that control with who you share your information to was more comforting. Obviously, anything you share on social media has the power to go anywhere because it's the internet, but still, there was a lot more power with social media, and that was really, really cool. So I think Facebook is great, but then Facebook is still in effect today, and it's really strong, and I think that's great because Facebook has today Facebook kind of has developed its own area to be professional. It's like LinkedIn. LinkedIn is strong today too, but LinkedIn is strictly for businesses, and you can access LinkedIn on mobile and on web. But going forth to that, just to being a web-based platform, social media pages like Instagram and Snapchat were really, really coming into play, and that's what kind of grabbed the younger audience, and that's where all this danger kind of comes into play. It's crazy how kids just have access to smartphones these days. I remember when I was young, I'm still really young, but when I was like 10, I remember I got a telephone, a flip phone by Virgin Mobile with phone cards, and I remember that felt really, really cool because I could play Brick Breaker on my phone and make phone calls to my mom and dad. But I think it's crazy how times have changed, and it's 9-year-old kids today have their parents' old iPhone, and it's completely activated with the power to access any website and the power to access the App Store. In 2008, the App Store was released on the iPhone 3G, and I feel like that was a breakthrough for all sorts of consumers today, and it opened up lots of opportunity for social media. In 2008, you didn't have to go on the web browser on your phone to go onto Facebook or whatever. You had your own app in the App Store, and that allowed users to get onto social media much easier, which could also be a dangerous thing. But young kids these days having the power to access smartphones and stuff isn't good, and I think parents could do a better job these days helping the children know the dangers of social media usage, and adults too, but especially children who are developing and are losing sleep, and then for the adults who are killing communications with their loved ones and maybe even spouses, and it's really, really sad. Satan works overtime in a lot of ways to tempt us, and I think that it's really depressing. And when you idolize something like social media before the Lord or anything, it's really, really sad. Exodus chapter 20, verses 3 through 6 says, "You shall have no other gods before me." And verse 4 says, "You shall not make yourself an idol, or any likeness of what is in heaven above, or on earth beneath, or in the water under the earth. You shall not worship them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting your iniquities of the fathers of the children on the third of the fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing love kindness to thousands to those who love me and keep my commandments." It's a great verse because you don't want to take social media and covet it, and I think a lot of the reasons why people, especially people who are insecure in themselves, use social media is because they're able to build this fake identity for themselves online, and it brings them comfort, and we read about that in our reading, and it brings sensation, and it gives a dopamine response in your head when you're able to instantly gratify yourself by posting things and building this fake identity about yourself, because you can obviously say whatever you want. And social media is really, really dangerous. The sad part about social media is that it's growing and growing in numbers of dangers. Obviously there's so many great reasons for social media, but Facebook is, for example, or Instagram too, but Facebook is really manipulating in ways that we don't know, but it's all for revenue, obviously. Facebook has games, but because it's like gambling, Facebook wants you to come back, and they want to draw you to it. And they have games like Farmville and other games that require you to come back every 24 hours to collect coins. And there's this alluring factor to get you to come back, and I think that's crazy. There are mobile-based apps like Instagram and Snapchat. Are really addicting, because Snapchat, for example, you can build something called a snap streak, and when the recipient sends a photo to you and then you send a photo to them, every single day it builds up this snap streak. But also too, I mean, it's what you send too. Snapchat claims that it's private, so you can send private photos to one another, and it just opens up a lot of temptations for a lot of people, especially the younger audience. And that's, in my opinion, I always felt that the younger audience, through my research here too, the younger audience are more affected by apps like Snapchat and Instagram because it's a mobile-based platform. And like I was just saying a few minutes ago, it's crazy how many kids have access to smartphones. And with child pornography and everything growing, it's just insane where technology is taking us. Technology can be so great, and it can be a blessing because we can use social media to evangelize, but that's not happening as much as we as a believers. It's not happening as much as we'd like, but the dangers are more happening, and Satan works overtime in all sorts of different ways, and I think that he really works in social media through drawing people, and people who have insecurities get to release those, and through the different gateways of social media. But I know that in different ways in my life, social media has been helpful through LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn to help me get my job at BMW, and I think that was great. And like I said, Facebook being a more professional form of social media, when you're not playing the games and everything, just the post. I feel like a lot of the older audience have more started to use Facebook, and I think that's great. But those mobile social media apps are really dangerous, and I think that's something to always be aware of. I want to leave with one more thing. I want to say that the psychology behind this addiction is all in the dopamine release. When you do something, it gives you a sense of comfort. When you post something online, it gives you this adrenaline that, yeah, I was able to share this about myself. I was able to create your own. You're able to create your own image of yourself online, and it's really, really dangerous. I remember I created my Facebook in 2010, and I was very limited on how much time I could spend on there, and I'm really thankful for that. Um, how did you get involved with social media? Was there ways that you felt hooked on it at one point? I know that when I got my phone, that didn't help my usage of being on social media, and obviously, we need to be aware of all things that we should have a 360 surrounding of things that are going on in our lives, and not let digital platforms take our minds away from having our heart on things that's really important. And the best way to glorify Christ is to put our time into His Word instead of putting our free time into social media. And but also we should enjoy it for what it is. But it's also, I think the wise way to use social media is to have good discernment and to really know the dangers of it. And I hope that this was able to bring a little bit to your attention. I really appreciate your time, and I hope that you have a great rest of your term. And I'm really thankful to be working with all of you, and I appreciate each and one of you. And thank you. Bye.